from this special broadcast on the ZBC News and Current Affairs desk. My name is Curtly Gwindi, and today we are crossing over to the Munumutapa building, where we are going to be witnessing a brief of the post-cabinet media briefing from the Munumutapa building in the capital, Harare. It is a pleasant viewing.
Dr. Banda, members of the Fourth Estate, welcome to the fifth post-cabinet press briefing session. Cabinet received an update on the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and a report on the procurement and rollout of vaccines as presented by the Honorable Vice President, Dr. CGD and Chwenka. The nation is being informed that one death was recorded during the week under review compared to the 3 recorded the previous week. The number of new cases recorded continues to decrease. However, during the week under review, there were 26 new admissions compared to the 21 recorded the previous week, with 3 being in intensive care unit. As at 11 March 2023, the country's cumulative cases since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 stood at 264,385, with 258,303 recoveries and 5,672 cumulative deaths. The recovery rate was at 98%, and with 370 active cases having been reported. Regarding the national vaccination program, Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that a total of 6,865,048 first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine have so far been administered, while 5,089,413 people have received their second dose, and 1,637,094 have received their third dose. There was an increase in the national vaccination program for the first dose to 61.1% from the 60.8% which was recorded previously. Cabinet received and adopted the National Development Strategy 1 Performance Report for the 4th quarter of 2022, which was presented by the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Professor Mutuli Ngube. Cabinet is reminding the nation that following the launch of the National Development Strategy 1 in October 2020, the implementation commenced in 2021 under the 14 thematic working groups that were created to drive the program and in order to ensure that we achieve the set targets. Under the Economic Growth and Stability Group, the nation is being informed that the National Development Strategy 1 target for inflation in the 4th quarter of 2022 was 26.3%. Government tightened the monetary and fiscal policy stance, maintained central bank accommodation in terms of rates at 200%, and ordered a review of public procurement processes to ensure that there is value for money in terms of all procurement programs. The budget deficit declined from a National Development Strategy 1 target of 1.65% to 0.9%, which then reflects the conformity with the SADC macroeconomic convergence criteria for fiscal deficits below 3%. At the center of inclusive growth during the 4th quarter of 2022, the nation is being informed as follows. The mining sector grew by 10% in 2022, driven by high international mineral prices, the resuscitation of closed mines, the expansion and opening of new mines. Gold production in the year 2022 improved to 36 tons from 31.5 tons in the previous year, 2021. The construction of gold service centers such as Makaha in Mtoko made significant progress, and the manufacturing sector also grew to 66%, surpassing the year's target of 65%. The nation is also being informed that under the Food and Nutrition Security Thematic Working Group, milk production was boosted by an increase in the dairy herd from 22,000 to 38,000. In the water subsector, the government procured additional rigs and drilled 437 boreholes, surpassing the fourth quarter target of 240 boreholes. According to the June 2022 Zimpac report, 38% of rural households, translating to 2.9 million individuals, would have required 0.3 million tons of cereal grain from the National Strategic Grain Reserve. Government ensured the distribution of grain to needy households and communities. The nation is being informed that under the thematic working group on moving the economy up the value chain and structural transformation, sugar production met the quarterly target, reaching 107,509 tons. The capacity utilization for leather manufacturers and tanners, 1.55% and 2.85%, against a target of 3% and 3.25% respectively. The bus assembly value chain assembled 4 buses out of a target of 4 due to other challenges. Under the infrastructural and utilities thematic working group, the nation is being informed as follows. A cumulative of 400 kilometers of the Harare-Masvingo Bike Bridge Highway was upgraded and opened to traffic. As many as 19 airlines were flying into Zimbabwe and by the end of the year 2022. The nation is also being informed that under the digital economy thematic working group, the broadband penetration target of 60% was exceeded by 0.8%, while internet speeds increased in line with technological advancements. The geographic broadband network coverage exceeded the 70.61% target and reached 70.68%. The provision of localities with public internet access centers exceeded the targeted 8% and reached 12.8%. The proportion of central government organization with a web presence reached 100%, exceeding the planned 59%. A survey will be undertaken to establish the rest of the issues. On housing delivery, the nation is being informed as follows. Financiers and other stakeholders are preparing to commence the preliminary works on the Smart Cities project. And in terms of the National Development Strategy 1, the target of 77.7% of households had access to clean and safe water. 63.8 hectares was allocated for the settlements densification program. And under the Human Capital Development and Innovation Thematic Working Group, the nation is being informed as follows. The qualified critical skills workforce target of 30,500 artisans, technicians, technologists, performed exceptionally well, reaching the target of 38,119 graduates from the November to December 2022 EXCO examinations. The population of learners taking up STEM subjects rose to 44% from the initial target of 43%. Innovation hubs and industrial parks increased significantly during the fourth quarter of 2022. And in particular, the Manicaland State University of Applied Sciences established a state-of-art agro-innovation industrial park on the Headlands Farm. The Midland State University National Pathology and Diagnostic Center was operationalized. Several secondary schools were able to access mobile science laboratories manufactured by the National University of Science and Technology. The National Development Strategy 1 target of rehabilitating infrastructure in 250 schools achieved 100%. New schools were constructed through PPP projects and the utilization of devolution funds which were disbursed by the government of Zimbabwe. On health and well-being, the nation is being informed as follows. Government is prioritizing the capacitation of village health workers to promote early bookings and delivery in health institutions. Government is also making concerted efforts to address the conditions of service of health care workers. The proportion of occupationally exposed workers is also being monitored and is on target. Cabinet is also informing the nation that the image building, international engagement and re-engagement thematic working group achieved several milestones. The nation is also informed that the national radio coverage expansion exceeded the 70% target and reached 72% of the population. The program enhanced the creation of a knowledgeable society and also promoted diversity and plurality, making sure that we leave no one and no place behind. The radio and television transmitters were installed at Lupane State University and at Manama Mission in Gwanda. 4 bilateral investment protection and promotion agreements, international treaties and protocols were signed and ratified out of an initial target of 2. Cabinet is also further informing the nation that the devolution and decentralization program is targeting the implementation of projects that facilitate increased equitable development across empowered communities across all the provinces and districts. In the fourth quarter of 2022, 4 key pieces of legislation had their principles approved by Cabinet, paving way for the drafting at the Attorney General's office. 6.5 million out of the initially targeted 6 million citizens were able to directly access services from projects funded through the intergovernmental fiscal transfers. Under the Youth, Sports, Arts and Culture thematic working group, the nation is being informed as follows. Youth participation in decision making was enhanced by 5.2%, and youth across the country accessed empowerment opportunities in all sectors of the economy and exceeded a targeted 20,000 to reach a target of 1.1 million. The massive increase was attributed to enhanced entrepreneurial training, access to business loans through Empowerment Bank, and business management training conducted by the Zimbabwe Youth Council. Under the Second Republic's Social Protection Thematic Working Group, The nation is being informed as follows. 4,601 primary schools benefited from the schools feeding program. The government of Zimbabwe supported 64,566 children under the harmonized social cash transfer program, thereby surpassing the annual target of 45,000 children, mainly under the National Disability Program. 2.9 million of the targeted 3.5 million households received maize and traditional grain inputs under the Climate Proofing Pumvudza Intwasa program, mainly due to the modalities that seek to ensure that we accelerate and achieve in terms of food security. The number of gender-based violence cases reported to responsible authorities and assisted one-stop centers decreased. 2,000 survivors of dangerous drugs and substance abuse were rehabilitated and reintegrated through a special fund that was set up. 4% of the population was covered by social insurance programs, and the social insurance scheme is being designed to target the informal sector, and more pension contributions are being deliberated upon. Under the Environment Protection, Climate Resilience and Natural Resources Management Thematic Working Group, Cabinet is informing the nation as follows. The early warning systems were targeted in terms of establishment in 66 districts were achieved, and all the ecologically sensitive areas were gazetted for protection, and also it includes in the Harare Metropolitan Province and the whole headwaters in the 7 rural catchment areas of the country. Following a 60.92 increase in fire incidents recorded in 2022, the National Fire Management Safety Strategy Management Team was re-evaluated in October 2022. The rehabilitation of mined areas was conducted across all provinces, with a cumulative rehabilitation coverage reaching 6.029.05 hectares. 24,629 tons of plastic waste was recycled, exceeding the initial target of 10,000 tons, while 36,114 tons of paper were recycled out of an initial of 15,000 tons. US 1.8 billion targeted for tourism receipts was exceeded by 56.2% after 2.8 billion United States dollars was received. Finally, under the Governance Thematic Working Group, Cabinet is informing the nation that the Second Republic seeks to improve public service delivery, uphold national unity, justice, peace and reconciliation as building blocks for achieving equitable and sustainable national development. Progress achieved stands as follows. Out of the targeted 95.5% case clearance rate for 2022, the rate achieved was 98% in the year 2022. And in a bid to improve peace and national cohesion, 73% of conflict incidents received cases were all resolved. The National Peace and Reconciliation Commission received 255 complaints and finalized 186 cases, while 69 cases were at various stages of investigations. Conflict cases encompassed land and boundary disputes, malicious damage to property, assault, and other issues related to discrimination. Peace committees were established in 33% of the country's 70 districts during the fourth quarter of 2022. That is in Buhera, Bulawayo, Harare, Wange, Gweru, Kariba, Mutare, Mutoko, Mkai, Lupane, Matopo, Cholocho, Guruve, Mutasa, Mkulumani, and Goromonzi districts. Cabinet also approved the Memorandum of Understanding between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Zambia on the development of the Lower Zambezi Mana Pools Transfrontier Conservation Area, as presented by the Attorney General, Honorable Prince Machai, as the acting chairman of the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. The nation is being informed that government seeks to conclude a memorandum of understanding with the Republic of Zambia to foster transnational cooperation in ecosystems management through the establishment, development, and management of the Lozamap Transfrontier. More specifically, the MOU intends to, among other issues, create a conducive environment for the development of the Lower Zambezi Mana Pools Transfrontier Conservation Area, foster transnational collaboration and cooperation in ecosystem management through establishment and development and management of the Lower Zambezi Mana Pools Transfrontier Conservation Area, to promote alliances in the management of biological natural resources by encouraging social, economic, and other partnerships among stakeholders, to enhance ecosystem integrity and natural ecological processes through harmonization of environmental management procedures and the removal of artificial barriers, thereby allowing natural movement of wildlife without restrictions, to develop frameworks and strategies to enable local communities to participate and derive tangible benefits from the management and sustainable utilization of natural resources, and to develop transboundary tourism as a means for fostering regional socio-economic development. The Lower Zambezi Mana Pools Transfrontier Conservation Area will cover Mana Pools National Park, Urungwe, Sapi, Cheore Safari areas, and the adjacent communal, state, and privately held land on the Zimbabwean side in the Lower Zambezi National Park, the Chiawa GMA and open areas with Siavonga and Chirundu districts, as well as state and private land in Zambia. The TFCA development plan will be funded by the Global Environmental Facility at a cost of $170,000 United States dollars. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and the Chair. Now it is time for members of the media. Shows any questions anywhere. So who's starting? Yes, please, your name and the organization you represent.
All right, thank you. My name is Leon Menje from newsbubble.com. My question relates to access to clean water. You say that about 70% of access to clean water. Is it possible to get a breakdown of the areas in which the 70% are? I'm asking the question in relation to the situation in Chichunguza, and I just want to know where
Okay. Yes, please. Name, organization.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. If I can say you are the ZBC News. Mine goes to the Minister of Finance regarding the update on NDS1 and the milestones of positive achievements that have been recorded. I know you cited that mining grew by 10%, gold increased from 31 to 36 tons, manufacturing also grew to about 6%, there was an increase in milk production, there was an increase in tourism receipts. But the World Bank maintains that Zimbabwe is the country with the highest food inflation in the world. I just wanted you to clarify or to bring clarity as to, with all these positive developments, all these positive recordings that you have recorded, when will first inflation, when I ask inflation, I say, when will people actually begin to experience or to feel the impact of all these positive developments or positive results that you've indicated? When will they be felt in the pockets of ordinary Zimbabweans? That's the first question. Then going forward, seeing that this year is an election year, what strategies have you put in place to make sure that these positive developments continue, and that there is no, deviation when, we all know that if it's election year, all the focus is on elections. Some of these programs that you've been running, what are strategies that are in place to make sure that it's maintained? Thank you.
Thank you. Last question in this session. None. Back to you, Chair, to coordinate the response.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. I think all the questions, and also at the same time to members of the fourth estate, you need to identify your organization and also the name. At the same time, all the questions relate to Professor in terms of performance of the NDS1. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair, for passing on the baton to me to respond to some of the queries raised by colleagues from the media. First of all, this is the first time in the history of Zimbabwe that we've adopted a results-based development planning process where we measure actual performance on the targets that are in any development plan. We've never done that since 1980. This started with the NDS1. That's the first point. The second point, from my colleague who asked about the issue of clean water, which areas. I don't have the exact list here with me, but I'll be happy to give you the actual areas where balls have been drilled, where there's improved clean water in some of the urban areas. But a lot of this, you'll see a lot of the improvement actually mainly in the rural areas where, a lot of balls have been, drilled well ahead of the target. And we continue to do that. We've recently acquired, 40 drilling rigs that will be spread across the various provinces, at least, 2-3 per province to accelerate this program. But offline, we can give you the data on that. We'll be very specific about that. Then on the other colleague asked about the growth that we've seen, 10% in the mining sector, gold output is up, and other positive statistics. But then you cited the World Bank as giving other different data, which is negative. First of all, we've not shared this document with the World Bank, so they don't know about the positive developments that we experienced literally in the last 6 months of last year. So now that it's been approved by Cabinet, we'll share with them, then they can update their data, which will show that certainly there have been major improvements right across the board. The economy is not just inflation. The economy is about clean water, it's about good roads, it's about job creation, it's about growth in the mining sector. The economy is real, So I can assure you that there are a lot of our citizens who are experiencing the use of good roads as they drive, who also are experiencing fresh and clean water in the rural areas. Citizens who actually experience a very successful COVID-19 vaccination program. That's all part of the economy. They experience that. Now, specifically on inflation, on when inflation is likely to decline, inflation in Zimbabwe, because we have a dual currency basically, US dollar and Zim dollar, you cannot measure effective inflation on the back of one or the other currencies. You can't just say US dollar inflation or indeed just Zimbabwe dollar inflation. So that's why you find we've adopted the weighted average as a more accurate reflection of what inflation is in this country. We've realized that more than 50% of the transactions, especially in the last quarter, are now in actually hard currency, US dollars. And clearly US dollar inflation is lower than Zimbabwe dollar inflation. So the combination of the two is what the economy is actually experiencing, that weighted average, weighted by the volume and value of transactions in either currency. So you see that inflation in the last time it was recorded, which is about last week, inflation actually in a weighted average sense has dropped down to 92% year on year. And in fact, on a month-on-month basis, inflation is actually negative. It's actually about minus 1.65% or so. It's actually negative. Actually, on a month-on-month basis, effective inflation is actually negative with deflation, in fact. So that will then pull down year-on-year inflation over time, and you will see the positive results on that. Will this positive state of affairs continue? We are determined to make sure it continues. So we'll continue to fine-tune our policies wherever needed, wherever necessary, to make sure that the stability is felt, to make sure that the positive development in the real sector continue to be felt, be it infrastructure construction, delivery in various social sectors, in agriculture, growth in mining continues. We'll strive to make sure that that stays on course. I thank you.
Last round, any offers? You repeat, okay.
Probably my request is almost similar to the one which I made earlier, the NPRC report 2, if it could be shared, if it is possible.
Okay.
Thank you. We can arrange for you to have access to these copies. There's nothing that can hinder us, because we want you to report the correct positive contributions under the new dispensation, because we believe members of the fourth estate, and you are part of the team that is going to create that positive energy that we need to develop great Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. Any more for you to make the last voice?
Thank you, Chief Secretary. I want to thank you, members of the fourth estate, for coming at such a short notice to attend to the 5th post-cabinet briefing session, and also to thank the Cabinet Secretariat and my colleague ministers, Professor Mtulimwe, Comrade Mangaliso Ndlovu, Permanent Secretary Mabwana, the Chief Secretary for the coordination, and members of your team. Thank you so much for coming.
Good. So that's the end. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, and we have just got to as the rest of those who are representing the ministerial posts that were discussed today in the post-cabinet media briefing. We did hear a very succinct as well as a concise report that did come through with a lot of thematic areas to do with the national progress as well as matters surrounding the everyday Zimbabwean, that is you and myself. We did get to hear about reports from the 100 days from the Second Republic, as well as issues to do with the youth party participation that has significantly gone through by 3%, 3.5% rather. We also got to hear about young people to do with entrepreneurial training, and we do know that is a key skill that is being adapted within this dispensation as well as a second republic. Now, we do know that a significant part of the roads in Zimbabwe have been improved, and we did get to hear that many of the COVID cases have since decreased in Zimbabwe, and we do appreciate once again that through some of the programs that have been done by the national agenda, we do know that 2,000 young people have been rehabilitated. A very big appreciation of some of the matters that were discussed in today's post-cabinet media briefing. It's always a very, very good pleasure to be on your screens. My name is Curtly Gwindi from the crew behind the scenes. It is a very good afternoon, and God bless Zimbabwe.